Lowery, it's baseball season. Got to start off with one of the best pitching coaches, if not the best pitching coach in the entire country. Frank Anderson's here.
One of the all-time, top 4 or 5 guys ever, probably in that what I call the number one position, assistant-wise. He's the guy. He does pitching, his specialty, which he's great at. But he's also great at recruiting and hitting the road. And with all his, I call it the black book of contacts, he can put together a team in 15 to 30 days. So just a real treat to be with Frank. He's been one of my best friends for a long time. I think people are going to enjoy this one tonight.
Yeah, we miss him around Texas, but he's still at the other UT. How's life in Tennessee?
It's good. It really is. I mean, with the football always sets the tone. I mean, it always does at every university that you're at, and the way those guys played and how, what a tremendous turnaround Josh and those guys have had. And then obviously I've known Rick Barnes forever, and they were playing very well in basketball. So no, it's a fun time.
But sort of like at Texas, Frank, it's kind of on the upslope a little bit. Josh got there to start the football, but you guys have a couple of really jam up years in baseball, and now the football feeds. It works both ways. It's not just football. I think football feeds off you guys. So it happened here at Texas. We won it.
No, absolutely. And it was crazy because, when we came out of COVID, we were like the first thing that you could go to. And so people were just starving to get out and raise cane and have a good time. And we hosted that regional and then a super regional. And, I don't even know what we seat, 4,000 or 5,000. And then we didn't have enough. And then so they took the block on the outside, put a big screen TV, and had probably, they said anywhere between 4,000 and 8,000, depending on the time. And it was so funny. There was a tape delay between what they saw on the screen and what went on in the field. And somebody went and ripped down all the windscreen on the outside of the stadium so they could see, actually see in, and then they get to see whatever's happening on their TV there. But, and there was a few beverages that had been downed, I'm sure, out there. But it was, no, that was really neat to see because you're right, David. We were kind of the first thing that you could go to when all that stuff opened back up, and we were very fortunate to have a good team.
I've never been to a baseball game at Tennessee. Is there a checkerboard anywhere on the field?
You know what? On top of the dugouts, there's a checkerboard, and it was funny. They were painting it the other day to start the season, and I mean it's a big deal now because it's hey, where is it? Where it's going to be seen by the cameras? Where the media and the kids and recruits and it's just, I mean, there's so much goes into that, and Rocky Top that, I mean, yeah, checkerboard, I mean, that thing's huge, and it's got to be somewhere where it's visible.
Yeah. Frank, take us through your journey. The start, you were at Howard. Frank and I first crossed paths when I was at Panola, and he was at Howard in a regional or whatever they call it, state tournament back then. It was the winner went to the Junior College World Series. We had a semifinal elimination game. The winner had to try to beat San Jack twice. A great classic game. Went down like 13 innings. We won 4-3, I believe. We had a left fielder. Frank and I still laugh at. He's a really good player, but did not throw that great. And he makes the throw of his life to cut down the winning run. They had a winning run like in the 9th or 10th inning. But really a classic game. But that's the first time we had crossed paths. And Frank, just go from there, and you might even want to start before there, your journey in the coaching world.
Well, I went, I played at a small school in Nebraska, and we played a school in Kansas, NAI school, Emporia State University. And it was the first time that I'd ever really seen somebody really coach baseball and teach baseball. And it happened to be a guy named Dave Bingham. And I finished my 4 years, still hadn't graduated. I was kind of on the same path as you, Lowery. And so I transferred over there because I wanted to be a coach. And I thought this guy, I mean, he didn't even know I was coming. And I broke my leg that summer playing in the Jayhawk League. And so I crutch in and said, hey, man, I'll come in. I'd like to be a part of it. I never seen anybody coach do the things you do. And the teaching side of it and the whole 9 yards. And hey, I'll do the laundry. I just want to be a part of it because I knew I wanted to coach. And so he goes, hey, come on. So I end up finishing school and getting my master's there, which ended up being one of the best things I did, and went straight through. And so a guy named Dave Bingham was there. I mean, he's still the best X and O guy baseball. Hey, Og was unbelievable postseason, great coach, great, mental game guy. But just as far as the X and O's of fielding and pitching and game management, different things, he's still the best that I've ever been around. And so, anyway, I was fortunate to be a part of him. And then I graduate and I'm getting married. He just said he's going to the University of Texas in 85 and hadn't left since. And hey, I'm getting married in 85 and I got no job. And so, hey, I got my master's. I'm ready to conquer the world of coaching. I can't buy a job. I can't, and so we moved to South Dakota and Sandra gets a job working at a veterinary clinic. And this is honest God's truth. I would go play basketball every noon. I mean, I'd try to find a job, but then I'd get frustrated. I'd go play basketball at City Park, and because we got married in July, and then I'm going out. I'm trying to get a job, just like any kind of job, and I go to a cattle call interview process, and I get there, and it's for door-to-door vacuum sales, and that was.
I've never heard of this one. Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that was like the low point of my deal right there. And it's funny how things work out. Somebody's looking after you, kind of. So anyway, Dave Bingham calls, the guy that was at Emporia State. I'm sure he felt bad that I couldn't find a job. Well, one of the old trainers there at the university was a trainer in Big Spring, Texas. And he calls and he goes, hey, he's got a full-time 8th grade coaching job. You would teach 5 classes of earth science a day. You are the C-team football coach and you're the A-team basketball coach. And it pays, I don't know, what, $17,500 or something like that. Hey, and I take it. And I go down there before Sandra goes down, or my wife, and hey, you couldn't drink the water. And it was pretty dry out in West Texas, but I had a job that actually pays. And so anyway, I take that job, and like I say, it's crazy. And as you look back and go, and somebody was looking out for me, and so there happened to be Howard Junior College, as David said, and I would go over there. 5th period was my off period, and that was usually when batting practice would start there at Howard College, and I would go over there, and the older guy that was there, which at the time, I thought he was just an old guy coaching. This guy ended up was a really good coach, and especially now as I look back. But he asked me one day, he goes, "What are you doing, and who are you, and why are you always?" And I kind of told him my story and this and that. Anyway,
that's Bill Griffin.
Yeah, Bill Griffin. Yeah, the guy's a Hall of Fame coach. He won the national championship at Panola once or twice, and he won the national championship at Howard. And so I into the summer. This is what was crazy, is that I had to have an emergency certificate to teach earth science. I had like 8 hours of science in college, and so I went there
talking about global warming and shit, or what?
Oh, hey, David, I was about a week I'm probably lying to that. I'm probably about 2 days ahead of the kids at that point teaching those classes. And so, but it was a neat experience though, because, my first, you would know, you guys are big high school football fan stuff. I get to go scout on a Thursday night or Friday night, a scrimmage, and we go to Plainview, and they got a running back that was really, really good. And it wasn't Stan Robertson, who ended up being a first rounder, but this other guy in baseball, but it was another guy, I think he signed at OU or something. And he might have been a big time draft guy in baseball too. I can't remember his name. But anyway, hey, I've been in a small town, Nebraska, which is football was big, but I never seen anything like this. And we were in with Permian, Lee, St. Angelo Central, all the Abilene schools, stuff like that. I mean, it was crazy, and that was fun. And John Wilkins at Permian had his own TV show on like Sunday nights and stuff. I've never seen anything like that in my life. And so anyway, so long story short, I go over there and I got lucky. The guy that was the head of the guy that was the trainer at Howard College takes a job with the Pro Rodeo Association in like 1st of August. And my wife is out walking because I'm having to take 17 hours of summer classes so I can go back and teach 8th grade again. And I already got a master's. I mean, it's just craziness. And they made me go. I wasn't in state because I'd only been there 9 months. So I was an out-of-state resident. I couldn't even get in-state tuition. Hey, so anyway, this guy leaves. Sandra calls me and said, hey, Coach Griffin wants to know if you would be interested in being the trainer at the college. And I go, I've been in the training room like 3 times in my whole life, knock on wood at that point. But, hey, what do you mean? So, hey, you could trainer, your head trainer for all the sports, basketball, both basketballs, men and women, and then rodeo and baseball. And he goes, hey, and then you got to teach. I taught usually 9 or 12 hours a semester because I had my master's. Like I said, that was the best thing I ever did. And then I got to coach. And he goes, can you coach pitching? And I was a position player. I never coached pitching. And he goes, can you coach pitching? Yeah, I can coach pitching. No problem. Anything. Hey, so, but I take a pay cut from $17,500 to $10,000 and breakfast at the dining hall.
Wow.
And no benefits. That was like straight up contract labor or whatever you call it. I can't remember how you say it, but I don't think I had any of the benefits or any of that kind of stuff either that first year. So anyway, that was kind of my journey. And then, but it was unbelievably awesome. I mean, it was a great teaching lab for me as far as the pitching side of it. He basically turned over the whole recruiting range to me. I got to do all that. And so I never got to do that before. And my only mistake was we kind of got pretty good. And the deal was after probably 2 or 3 or 4 years, he was going to get out. And he was the dean of students and a bunch of other stuff at the university. I was going to be the head coach. We started winning. And then that didn't take place. He kind of liked winning. And so, but anyway, back then, as David knows, we got to play against Division I's a bunch in the fall. You go play Texas Tech, these teams. And we got to where we were pretty good. We go up and play Texas Tech in the fall, and we were beating them pretty good. And then Larry Hayes hired me. So that's kind of this. It's kind of a roundabout way, but yeah, I'm pretty proud of the fact that I've coached at almost every level. And junior high that's a tough age, man. 8th grade is a crazy age.
Almost as bad as the vacuum clean salesman. The vacuum.
Hey, nothing against that, David, but I'm going, oh my Lord, I've got a master's degree. I spent this much time in school.
Uh-oh.
Do we lose you?
There we go.
There you go.
You got me?
Yeah.
Yep, you're back. Well,
yeah.
For a guy who didn't know how to be a pitching coach, you sure have turned things around for a lot of teams. Was there a tipping point along the way where you went, oh, yeah, now I figure out how to do this?
You know what? I was very fortunate. And at the time, I despised this lady like no end. She was in my graduate work, and she was an exercise physiology teacher. And I mean, I didn't like her, and believe me, she didn't like me either. And she was also over my thesis when I did my thesis on pitching mechanics. And imagine this, me being a smart aleck, but she was really good with body movement and teaching it and different things like that. And so I had a pretty good handle on how the body moved and the anatomy side of it and different things like that.
And so when ahead of her time.
Wait. Yeah. Unbelievable. Way ahead of her time. And I mean, all the, analytical stuff and all the different, fancy things that you now can put on a body and trace the movement patterns and stuff. She was kind of ahead of that. So I had a pretty good handle on how to do a lot of that stuff, the movements and stuff. And so I got in there, and like I said, it was like a teaching lab, not only for the kids, but for me. And then, I did really worked hard on the recruiting side of it. We're fortunate to get some really good players, and then so you watch how their bodies moved and stuff. Hey, it's a lot easier when you got good guys that their arm works right, as opposed to those guys that look like robots, and hey, you really got to work hard at it. And so, no, I that kind of gave me a little bit of a handle. And then that's what's crazy, because I mean, that was one of the things when we went to Omaha when I was with Texas. All the guys that I played with at that small NA high school go, what are you kidding? What do you know about pitching? You never pitched a day in your life. I go, yeah, I pitched in high school a little bit, American Legion and stuff. And so that, I mean, it's still kind of funny when you think back about, how that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the mental side of it, you're so good with the mental side of it. You and I, Frank and I talk baseball all the time. Keep it simple, stupid. It's a game of repetition, especially with hitting. I think pitching's a little bit more hands-on. I think there's more tweaks, as I like to say it.
Right.
But Frank, you're so good on the mental side, the competitive side. Tulo at a young age has that. How to compete. And I hear guys that play for. I've seen you work in the bullpens and do bullpens, and it's kind of special to watch how, you're not over the top with mechanics or something. Again, you'll tweak a guy, you drop street down a little bit, slot, and you'll make some play like that. But bottom line is you're teaching them how to compete, and you're seeing who can compete.
David, I think, we nowadays we do stuff that I never did before. I mean, like this week we had a rain day, so we kind of talked about our core values as a pitching staff. I would have never done stuff like that like 15 or 20 years ago, right? But okay, that's fine. I mean, kids, I mean, it's a little bit different. It's not my way or the highway. I mean, you still make them accountable, but it's different. It really is different. And so we talked a little bit about that. And one of the top things if you have some core values is competing, man. You got to compete. And I always say it, and I always worry about getting in trouble, but hey, I always tell them, hey man, at the end of the day, when you look in the mirror, there's probably only two people that know that you really dug down and gave everything you had, you and your maker. And that's my belief right there. And if you can look in the mirror and know you gave everything, you can live with that. And you can really live with that. And so, yeah, that's one of my deals is, hey, this thing should free you up to give everything you can. And then when it's over, it's over. But man, it's hard to live when you go, hey, I might have given in right there or this or that. But and that's, somebody, I'm known so much about arguing with umpires and this and that, which it kind of gets old after a while. But part of my deal is the competitive side, David. I for the longest time, I didn't think I belonged in this level and stuff like that. I mean, I played at a small NA high school. I didn't have high school baseball. I always put major league coaches and high level college coaches and all this on a pedestal. And then you get in there and you go, boy, there's some jugheads in this deal right here that are at pretty high level. And especially in professional baseball.
Baseball, good Lord.
I think it's gotten a little bit away from that, but the good old boy network of, hey, this guy played in the big leagues 20 years and he was an all-star, that he's probably a great pitching guy or this and that. I mean, and Augie used to talk about it. Those guys aren't teachers. They didn't grow up teaching. And so, that kind of became a competitive thing for me because I and still is a little bit. That's why, when I won the award this year, I was really happy because, for one, I'm old. I didn't always look like this. And the other thing is, I'm kind of not in that little social mix or whatever. And I don't do social media, so to speak, for a lot of reasons, because I'm always, Sandra, she always says, hey, don't get fired. And so she's always afraid I'm going to say something that is not going to be always politically correct. And so, hey, I went just to the line with a couple stories when I won those, got the award, and then I had to speak in this and that. And that was so fun just to see, because to say some stuff that, hey, they're not off color by any means, but you go, some of them, they go, oh my God, nobody says that. And they, oh, I can't believe they said that, and this and that, which is kind of fun too. I kind of enjoy that part of it too.
I want you to talk about
Go ahead,
your decision to come to Texas and to be an
What's
assistant
that?
coach. Your decision to come to Texas back in 20 years ago.
I've been at Tech for 10 years and loved it. I mean, they were great to me. Coach Hayes he taught me so many things about family and just how to treat people, and just a great person and this and that. Well, David was there. He was a Lubbock Cricket. One of my biggest pay was I was making, I don't know, 25, 30 grand or whatever it was at the time. But hey, when the Crickets came to town, I was in charge of the stadium at night. Well, and they were going to pay, I can't remember, it's like $12,000. Hey, that was a ton of money, man. And we had a kid and so that's a lot of diapers, a lot of this and that. Well, I didn't realize, hey, we're going to have to clean the stands and clean the bathrooms. And it was me and Greg Evans, the other assistant, and it was my wife and a couple of our managers. I had no idea, I'm thinking 12 grand, man, this is awesome. Well, but we did it. I mean, it was fine. And David, they'd play, they'd leave, and we'd be up in the stands blowing the peanut shells and doing all that. Hey, we're still recruiting. I mean, we're still coaching baseball at Tech. I mean, and that was in '95. We get beat in the final game. AJ Hinch hits a jack against Wichita State, at Wichita State against us. He's at Stanford to go to Omaha, and that '95 club, '95 and last year here are the two best teams maybe I've ever been a part of, and they're one game away from going to Omaha.
Wow.
And they always talk about the '95 team with Mark Kotze being maybe the best team ever. And I told Og, I go, hey man, it's easy to say, but you're lucky we didn't get through Stanford. I'm telling you. And but anyway, so I'm doing all that, and so kind of long story short, by the time it rolls around, the Crickets went under. Well, I lost that gig. And by that time, I think it was 15 grand they were paying me to do that stuff. Hey, but I'd gotten smarter, Mike. Crazy things happened. I mean, so I got tired. Here's what I did. I took the bathrooms, men and women's bathroom, because I didn't want anybody to say they had a worse job than me. I mean, Larry Hayes taught me hey, you know what? That way nobody's got an issue. If you're the one doing the bathrooms every day, I thought, hey, okay, the peanuts and picking up the trash, that's all. That stinks too. But hey, Frank's doing the bathroom. So we're not, that's the worst job in that deal. So anyway, but then the Crickets went under, or whatever happened to them, and I lost that deal. So now I'm back in the, 30, upper 30s or 40,000 or 50 or whatever I was making. And Texas offered me 90. And, but I was a little, like I said, I loved Lubbock, and I enjoyed Texas Tech. And I always tell people it was the neatest time, because I'll give you an example. I get hired from Howard College at Texas Tech, and in the summer, it's right before football started. We get up there and we move up there. Hey, that's before they have all these, everything closed off and you can't see. Everybody's so secretive and this and that. We go out to football practice. It's open right there by the stadium, and I'm inspired. It's awesome, man. It's cool. Hey, Brett and Sandra and we didn't have any money, but I get to watch football practice. I mean, this is big time, Southwest Conference football. Well, I look over, and about the 10-yard line, my son, Brett, has his pants down to his ankles, and he's taking a pee on the 10-yard line. And I'm going, oh, Lord, I'm going to get fired before I ever get to coach a game here. Wow. Hey, and what's funny is Coach Dykes, unbelievable, one of the best human beings I've ever known, sees him, goes over, Mike, he helps him put his his diaper on and his shorts, pulls him up, picks him up, carries him around for about an hour of the practice, and just walks around and carries him and talks to him. And can you imagine anybody doing that nowadays at that level?
I can see Spike doing it. Yeah.
Oh, hey, it's like Sonny Dykes talking about R.C. Slocum and Spike having a drink the night before they play the next morning at 1 o'clock in the morning and stuff like that. But anyway, so I want to make sure. Hey, I like my time at Texas Tech a lot, and so Augie calls, and they hadn't been very successful yet, at Texas with Aug, and that scared me a little bit because I still, hey, I got a million stories, but I didn't. We had no college fund for the kid, right? So we needed some money, and so at first, the first time Augie calls, I turned it down, and he said, "Hey, you know what? You kind of wavered there. I'm gonna give you like 7 days or something like that. I'm gonna call you back." And so he calls me back, and I go home and I tell Sandra, and she couldn't believe I didn't take the job. And so, and not like I said, she liked it. We'd been in Big Spring, been in Lubbock, and then so he calls me back, and I said, "Hey, I'll come down and take a look." And Coach Garrido, I mean, people don't realize how nice he was to the other coaches on the other team. I mean, he'd been really good to me. Now, I will say this. Hey, the one that really pushed me to get the job was Tommy Harmon. I mean, no doubt. And he's probably the reason I was offered the job. But I come down, and in typical Aug, we're coming from, it's a new airport. I was thinking maybe it's the old one. It's a new airport, and he gets lost on the way back. And I'm going, oh, my God. Hey, this guy's lived here for how long, and he gets lost from the airport on the way? Hey, I've heard some stories about Coach Garrido, but I'm going, oh my God. Hey, but I get in there, and I really, obviously, really liked him, but I meet with DeLoss, and he goes, DeLoss, and he couldn't believe I didn't take the job, and he goes, "Tell me why you didn't take the job." And I go, "Well, I'm afraid of I don't want to come down here and get fired. I know I'm going to have a job at Texas Tech, and I've got a little kid and this and that, and I didn't go through the whole vacuum deal, but almost was a vacuum guy, and now I got a job, and I don't want to lose a job." So anyway, he goes, "Hey, let me tell you something." He goes, "At that time, I don't know if they've changed. Well, I know they've changed it, but at that time, there was no assistant coaches that had multi-year contracts. I don't know about football or the other ones, but like for baseball, they didn't." And he goes, "Hey, we got a handshake deal for 3 years." And I go, "Well, okay, but if you have to get rid of Aug, am I going to be like the highest paid volleyball bus driver, or what am I?" And he laughs, and he goes, "No," he goes, "You know what? We'll figure it out." And I go, "All right, I'm in." And so, I went home and told my wife, and I mean, it was terrible to tell Larry Hayes I was leaving. And it's tough when you've recruited a bunch of kids and you leave. It was tough when I left Texas and went to Oklahoma State, and you leave Street and those guys. I mean, believe me, there's a bunch of tears shed over that type of stuff when you invest so much in the relationships and all that stuff, and then you leave, and it's tough. But anyway, that's kind of how I got here, or got to Texas.
There was a prior relationship with DeLoss, family wise, right? Didn't your sister work with him at Kansas State?
Well, I think my brother-in-law was like an assistant track coach, or was on the track team, or manager, or something when DeLoss was track coach at K-State, and so but at the time I didn't really know that when I took the job, and then later on I found out that they knew each other and stuff like that. Pretty crazy.
Wow.
You've mentioned Sandra a bunch, because I wanted to get to her. How important, and I go back with you guys a little bit, so I know a lot of the stuff, but how important has Sandra been to Team Anderson? Not only raising the kids, but she was an All-American.
She's huge, David. I mean,
also giving you input on athletes and her opinion and stuff too. So
she's really good, and you talk about, and I've talked about competing. She's one of the few people, I've had maybe less than 10 that I can think of, that could go out there, compete, and I mean, I'm talking about giving every thing you got in this game. And then when it was over, it was over. And like, I'm going, how do you do that? She goes, hey, I gave there was not one part of me that wasn't locked in for the entire game. Now she pitched and stuff like that, so obviously it had to be. But when it was over, and I'm going, that actually is the way it ought to be. And it should be the way everybody is. But it's not. Obviously it doesn't work out that way. But anyway, I told. When I got the award in Nashville, I said, hey, she didn't go. And I go, hey, I'm going to take some shots at you if you don't go. Because I go, hey, I asked the guy, I go, what do you want me to talk about? And he goes, hey, just thank your kids, your wife, this and that. And so I basically told the truth. I go, hey, man, love my kids. I appreciate, I want to thank them for putting up with me and not being there, for this and that. And still, David is still I wasn't there for Brett's debut. Still kills me to this day. You only get one debut in the big leagues, man, and I didn't get to see it. And stuff that Caitlin at the Texas Relays, when she just gets a PR in the javelin that was phenomenal, and gets second at the Texas Relays, stuff like that. But then I got to Sandra and I said, hey, let me tell you something. All you coaches talk about, your sugary sweet wives and how they're so awesome and this and that. And I said, hey, you lose a game and you come home and the food's on the table and they say, tell you, honey, it's going to be all right. Hey, mine ain't like that at all. And I'm going, that's not mine. I said, hey, mine's the one that Brett gets his rear ear knocked off by a line drive and she glues it back with veterinary glue when he's 10 years old and sends him back out, with blood all over his uniform. And then, yeah, I think he's even younger than that. And then I told this one, David, and I obviously, there's a bunch of people, I cleaned it up, but we're at Oklahoma State, and I said, I'm taking a shower, and she knocks on the shower glass and said, I need to ask you something. And I go, what? And she goes, I'm not going to tell you the name of the kid, but she goes, are you sleeping with so-and-so's mother? And I laughed and I go, I'm not. She goes, then why in the hell is that kid playing? and I to this day, that is so her, and I just love that. And hey, David, I needed somebody to kind of straighten my life, not my life, but just keep me going the right direction, and stuff. And she's been
a rock.
I don't know if she's done a good job. I don't know if she's done a good job, but at least she's trying to help me with that part of it a lot.
Well, I can remember a couple times at Texas when Caitlin was just a baby, and you go down there, we might even won the game or something. She goes, "Why'd you leave so and so? When you leave."
Oh,
and I'm having to grab the baby because you guys are going at it. I'm like going, Caitlin, it was unbelievable.
Well, that was the other thing I was telling, so that happens to Brett, like, she glues his ear on like 10. Hey, fast forward about 10 years later, and he's pitching against the Rangers. One of the years they go to the World Series, and he goes like 5 2/3, and I think gets a no decision. I mean, they're loaded. I mean, they got Nelson Cruz and Hamilton and Andrus and Beltre and Napoli. I mean, they're loaded across the board. And he gets a no decision, and they go to eat. And Brett calls me, and he goes, Dad, she made it 15 minutes. And I go, what are you talking about? He goes, hey, 15 minutes into the meal, she goes, hey, I just got to tell you, I didn't think you attacked the strike zone. I thought you were throwing it up. I thought you were pretty tentative. And he goes, hey, you need to get her off my ass. He goes, this ain't Ponca City High School. He goes, hey, these guys can hammer this thing. And I'm going, hey, that is so awesome. Hey, because, and she'll tell you, hey, I got to be the good guy. I mean, and it's in anything that our success, our kids have had, believe me. And there's a lot of coaches' wives, you say that about. I mean, if your kids are successful as much as we're gone and what we have to do, I mean, that's a huge deal. And so, yeah, she goes, it was always a deal that we'd get up, go after. Why won't you tell him? Why don't you do that? Hey, I got 30 guys I deal with every day. I kind of want to come home and want my kids to like to see me and want this and that. And so, yeah, it's kind of tough.
Well, what you got to tell the story though, Frank. You got to clean it up a little bit. I mean, it's an innocent story. It could happen to any of us. But you're recruiting. I can't remember you in Emporia. I can't remember. Maybe Howard. You guys are up.
No.
Sandra is from South Dakota. So
Yeah.
Frank stops by the College World Series, either 87 or 88. What year was Brett born?
It was 88. Yeah, 88. Well, no, it would have been that. It would have been whenever right before that, 87, summer before 8 or whatever it was. Yeah.
Sandra's pregnant with Brett. I'll set the pace. And Frank's recruit. Were you at Howard then? Yeah.
Yeah, I was at Howard, and I did a I don't know, 2-week. We hadn't been married very long, and at the time when I left to go on this recruiting deal at Howard College, I didn't know she was pregnant, but I'm gone for like quite a while. And like I said, we're not married too long, and so I make a trek from Big Spring, Dallas, Oklahoma City, I think Wichita, Kansas City, Omaha, Columbia, Missouri, St. Louis, South Bend. I saw Jim Abbott's little brother in Flint, Michigan. I go to Saginaw, Michigan, back to Nashville, and then finally I went as the longest that I'd gone, and then I ended up, I can't remember how I made my trek back, but I ended up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where my wife's from. And
she's staying with her parents. They're with Sandra's parents, staying a couple days.
Yeah, because at that time in the summers too, it was like it was the cheapest way too, because we could sponge off our families whenever we could to save some money. And she's up there, and so they're going to leave the house unlocked. I'm getting in late after midnight. This was before any cell phones or anything. I mean, you go on the road, Mike, and you can remember, hey, I'm going to call you collect on Friday at 8, or hey, if I call you and I hang up, that means I'm okay, or you had little codes and stuff.
That's right.
So anyway, we'd made it set up where they were going to leave the house unlocked so I could get in through the garage. And hey, I get in, and like I said, I hadn't seen my wife for quite a while, and so I'm excited to see her. Let's put it that way.
Let me just a second. Unlike in Houston or down here in Texas where it's hot, they didn't have any AC up there in the North.
No,
they had it in one room, the parents' room. And so the mom and dad, unbeknownst to Frank, who has no cell phone or anything, switches the rooms.
So I get there
in your room, the guest room.
I get there at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm excited. Let's just say I'm excited to see my wife. And Frank slips in to the bedroom that we're normally sleep in, and it happens to be not the one we're going to sleep in that night. And they switch rooms on me, and I slide into bed with my mother-in-law and father-in-law. and needless to say, there's a few screams from a couple people.
But your father-in-law never woke up, right? I mean, he never.
No, I don't think my father-in-law ever woke up. But then I go in the other room and I tell Sandra what had just happened and what wake her up and stuff. And then so I'm traumatized already by going into the wrong room, and she tells me she's pregnant with Brett, and I'm going, oh my man, what a full night right there, man. I'm just. My whole deal.
I did not know that's when she told you she was pregnant.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty crazy.
When you got to UT, things weren't going too well. 97, 98, 99 weren't not great for Augie. Then in 2000, I don't know how much credit you get for Bo Hale. He had an incredible year in 2000. You go to the College World Series, you go 2-Q. Yeah. And 2001 was a little bit down, but then 2002, that's when I thought you really made a name for yourself. But I think it was such a big move, but it had to be kind of dicey on your part, changing the arm slot for Huston Street.
Oh yeah, it was.
How did you do something like that? What was the thought process? And then look what happened.
It was funny, and I don't know if Bo remembers this, but in 2000, when I took the job, Bo, I think he'd won one game, or maybe hadn't won any games in the first 2 years. I think one maybe, but great arm. I mean, great arm. And but he was going to transfer, and we brought him in, and I can't remember. Bo could probably tell you, but I think we guaranteed him 5 starts to start the season because he hadn't been very successful, and I think we guaranteed him 5 starts to see if we could get it going. And we made some,
in that 5 starts.
Hey, you know what? There was, because Bo had a huge pitch count because he had a big arm and strike people out and this and that. Hey, I was going to take him out in the 7th inning of that no-hitter, and Augie goes, no. And Augie didn't mess with us much, or mess with me much on the pitching side of it. He goes, hey, let me tell you need to leave him in. I need this no-hitter. and so we leave Bo, and Bo did too. Bo, that I'm sure that helped Bo's confidence a lot. And, like I said, Bo could tell you more than I. But, yeah, so Bo had a great year, and then 12th pick, 14th pick in the first round or something like that. And that was that team was such a neat group because, to get to Omaha with that, that team was just really cool.
Yeah.
And Charlie Thames had one of the greatest years you can ever imagine. You look back, and the guy threw almost 80 innings as a reliever and had tremendous amount of saves and wins and everything else. You talk about,
he
riding somebody.
Overshadowed because then Houston comes and evolves.
Sure. No, exactly.
Thames was really good. Really.
Oh
good.
man.
Did he get some big league time, Frank? Did he get some big?
No, you know what? I think he got hurt in AA or AAA or something like that. And what's funny? He was supposed to go to Tennessee, and they released him out of his deal. And so yeah. But anyway, so no. To get back to Street, it was I tell you what, we had just played. I can't remember the exact deal, but so we're playing, and we have got a pretty good lead against Stanford on Friday night. And Street, and our remembrance of this is a little different because and he's a lot younger, so he probably remembers it better than I do. But we have a lead with Brad Halsey on the mound, and we didn't have anybody to close it out on Friday night. And that deal devastated me because that was a really good Stanford team, and we were going to meet them again in Omaha if we got there, and because I thought they were really good, and they were. And so we get beat, and then Justin Simmons, who that year was just unreal, wins Saturday, and then Sunday we're playing, and I still haven't forgotten Friday night. It's still just bothering me. And so, and like I said, this is where the story changes from Street and me, but I remember it of us going down the bullpen during the game. I'm almost positive it happened. And so I'm sticking with that. And so it's like the 5th or 6th inning, because at that point we had to figure out something, because it was quite a few games into the season at that point, how far we were. And so anyway, we go down there because Houston had got beaten up a little bit at Texas Tech too, and his arms, he was throwing pretty hard, but bad breaking balls, kind of a bad curveball, and pretty flat fastball. But here's my deal. I knew he wasn't scared. I knew we needed somebody late, and that once we got this thing kind of pared down, and I always tell people this, hey. Not to anything against Houston, but hey, my team that I got, like the pitching I got now and the pitching I've had, different places, his stuff, was not over the top stuff. It wasn't 95 to 100 and, the crazy slider that you see. He did it because that's one of, somebody asked me about competing. That was what he did is phenomenal. And so, so I'm thinking, hey, we kind of went back to that lady that taught me about body control and how the body moves and this and that. And I thought, if we got him down there and got him a little bit of movement, and I thought his breaking ball would tighten up, because Charlie Thames was even lower in his breaking. He was the same way. His breaking ball was not very good. He wasn't very good over the top. We dropped him, and he kind of ended up being a dude. Now, Houston really didn't want to do it, and I don't think James wanted him to do it, to be honest with you. But it took about 2 weeks, and then I think he saves like 2 out of 3 in Oklahoma or something like that. And And then next thing you know, he saved 14 straight and was the MVP and all 4 in Omaha and stuff like that. But every once in a while you get lucky. You kind of make a move with, because I've done this with kids too. Hey, you know what? You kind of clean them up. You kind of do something, and you go, and they get their tail handed to them. You go, hey, forget all that stuff I told you. Go back to doing what you're doing. I mean, that happens too sometimes.
Did that ever backfire on you? Did you ever change somebody's arm slot or anything like that?
You know what? I got them to where they could throw strikes, which is a huge deal for me. But their stuff wasn't near as good. And the pitching motion is a violent action, a violent movement. And so, you kind of go, okay, you know what? Let's go back to, kind of what you're doing. Maybe you don't throw quite as many strikes, but your stuff is better. You don't throw it over the plate as much, but hey, let's stay with what with kind of what got you here originally.
I want to go back to Houston, and one thing I will give him kudos what Frank's saying, because like you had Jay Brent, you had Jay Brent right after that when you left, Frank. Who they had really outstanding stuff. But one thing Huston Street could always do is spot that thing up. He could throw that when he was 15, 16 years old. He could throw that breaker on the black at the shins whenever he wanted to. And that's a gift in itself, like you're saying. So it wasn't like he didn't have anything. Number 2, on changing the arm angle, what I find interesting about this, I noticed this when I would coach him in the summers, his arm angle was more what he did from short. And he was an outstanding defensive shortstop. And his arm angle that Frank dropped into is more where he kind of threw naturally from shortstop, if that makes sense. I don't know if that had anything to do with it.
No, and that's where, it's funny, David, because I spoke at, this deal at Kentucky, at high school deal in Tennessee this year. And they're wanting to, they've got all these analytical deals and scientific, they're talking about subscapular deceleration or this or that. And I'm going, hey, man, I got no idea what you people are talking about. And I've got a master's degree in exercise physiology, which means nothing, but I don't even know what you're talking about. And so, no, my deal has always been, hey, I'll watch them play catch. I'll feed them ground balls and have them turn double plays, have them play long toss and this, that. Hey, everybody's kind of got a natural arm slot that you use. But then they get up on the mound and, hey, it's like my dad. My dad didn't know nothing about pitching. And a little bit I pitched in high school. Hey, he wanted my arm to be almost on the other side of my head right here. Throw it over the top, get it down, blah, blah. And I'm going, well, I'm throwing hook shots up there and my arm's killing me. And, and so but there were a lot of parents like that. I mean, that was kind of the deal back then. And so but anyway, that's been my teaching deal all along is, hey, let's watch them play and watch them how their natural arm swing works. And then let's try to get them to do it off the mound where it works naturally for them.
What do you look for when you're looking at a pitcher now? We talked earlier about, before we started recording, about how you're looking at pitchers that are a long way away from college.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you look for? Because a lot of them, when they're whether they're 14, 15, 16 years old, they're not mature body-wise. So What are you looking for in their arm?
It kind of goes back a little bit to what we talked about. When I go in, and especially Josh Elander, who's from Round Rock, is our recruiting coordinator, played at TCU. It does a great job. But I've kind of got a deal where, hey, man, don't send me out to see anybody that doesn't have at least a learner's permit. That's kind of my cutoff deal. And so, but anyway, I like to get, and he does a good, where I don't have to do just, basically cold call recruiting where I go out and see plethora of kids. He kind of pares it down for me. He does a really good job. And so I like to get there early and see how they act, how they interact with their teammates, how they interact with their parents. That's my first deal. I mean, hey, because I'm too old to put up. Hey, and I say this, David, and you make fun of me. I've had some turds now in my life, that played for me that are really good players, because the really good ones have got an orneriness about them, but they're good heart. Hey, you know what? Those kids might get in a little bit of trouble or this or that, but they'll be I always pare it down to, hey, this is my deal. I used to do this with Greg. So if I had a flat tire, which kid would stop and help me change it? Or if the kid was sitting there with a box of pizza and I asked him for a piece of pizza, would the kid give me one, or would he say, hey, yeah, whatever, type deal? And so, but anyway, my first deal is, okay, let's see how they mentally and how strong this kid likes to compete. And then now, like, I don't know that I'm any good at it. I'm not sure anybody's any good at it, but I'll look at a kid that can kind of have a chance to throw it over the plate, kind of long, easy levers, and that, because most all these kids are throwing this thing pretty hard now. And I think we do such a good job. One of the reasons is it's such a different deal because of the training table, the strength coaches that we have, the nutrition people, the dietitian people that we have. I mean, I can imagine what David, the crap he was eating in college. I mean, the same thing with me. First off, I couldn't afford it. Ramen noodles, turkey hot dogs, stuff like that. I mean, you didn't have much money to supply your body with what it needed. And so I think, and for me, just to see how make sure a kid's arm works good and stuff like that. Andrew Heaney was a kid I had at Oklahoma State that ended up being a first round. The Rangers just signed him to like 2-year, $27 million deal. When the first time I ever saw him, well, I shouldn't say this. When he got to college, he was like 6'2", 137 still. And it was funny because they had striped orange and black socks. He looked like the Cat in the Hat the first time I ever saw him as a sophomore. I mean, I bet he weighed 120 pounds. Hey, but it was left-handed. He could throw strikes. He could move it from different angles and throw strikes. And you know what? I think he was the 7th pick of the first round his junior year. But the first time I ever saw him, and when he started at college, it was 130. I think he left at maybe 165. And so, but the other thing is, we've had a couple kids, Mike, that you commit as 8th or 9th graders, and you've seen those kids that are so far better than everybody else. But then all of a sudden, hey man, people start to catch up, and all of a sudden, this kid that had a full beard as a 15, 16-year-old kid and quads and all this and that, all of a sudden now they get to be juniors and seniors, and all of a sudden, hey, you miss on kids. I mean, you know what? And so I just think that's tough. That's tough on everybody.
Why has it evolved that way? Why has it evolved that way, Frank?
I think it started. I think girls softball initially kind of were that would recruit them so young, and then now they have some of the better rules. I think their rules are that you can't talk to a kid until they're like a junior, like right before their junior high school or something like that, which kind of wish we'd go back to. I can remember Brett being at the 18 and under USA trials and Clayton Kershaw coming in my room. I was there to watch Brett at the deal, and Clayton comes in there, and he still didn't. It's the fall of his senior year. He didn't know where he was going to college yet. And so, I mean, that shows you, I mean, that guy's going to be a Hall of Famer, and he had no idea where he's going, the fall of his senior year of high school.
Wow. Was that the one out at USC?
No, this one was at Kennesaw, Georgia.
We'll have to get into some of our trips later. I've got one more story you're going to have to tell on our trips on me, of course, but dogging me. But anyway, we've talked about Sandra. What about the kids? You've had 2 successful kids, good kids, who will fight to the death for you. Anytime there's a game on, by either one. You got one is a big leaguer, and one is going to be a big league. She's worked for Goldman Sachs. She's going to be a big league attorney, blah, blah, blah. But when it comes dad time and Tennessee's on, they're in Omaha, they're in Knoxville, they're watching on TV. They're when Caitlin comes up in the box with me, she's watching your game on the phone. So tell me about your kids. Talk about your kids and how special
hey, you know that, David. I mean, it's you're a proud dad. I mean, and like I said, Sandra should get the majority of that. Like I said, I got to. Hey, I'm the one that took Caitlin to to see whatever bad animated movie it was out on Sunday afternoon after we got done playing, and I would hold on to her and fall asleep, and luckily she didn't take off, stuff like that. But that's stuff that Larry Hayes taught me. Larry obviously was such an awesome, kind of taught you how to do both, where you could have time for your kids and and stuff like that. And we talked about it. I grew up in the craziest dysfunctional family you can imagine. And I always tell kids, hey, man, you can learn from any situation. I just wanted to make sure that my kids knew that I loved them and I was going to be there for them, and, it was unconditional. But you had some accountability, with it. And fortunately, Sandra was the more accountability person than I was. But
she was laying the wood at the house. She was laying the hammer. Yeah. And she tells a funny story. If she was on, I get her to tell about when your father, it sounds terrible, when your father passed away. He passed away twice. And she had to tell Brett twice. I mean, it's been the statute of limitations.
Oh,
yeah, but that was go over that.
Yeah, no, Mike, it was crazy. So I'm not there, but and we knew my dad was, it wasn't going to be long, and so my niece calls and tells my wife that, hey, Grandpa Pete just passed, and so my wife tells Brett, hey, Grandpa Anderson, just passed away and he's in heaven, blah, blah, blah. Well, my niece calls back and says, hey, hold on, he's back. and hey, so I can't remember whether I was there or I just got back from school. And hey, my dad was wrought iron. I mean, tough, type deal. I talk about this all the time. Hey, at night you go home, hey, and you wanted him to not even know you're around, right? The old school, come home, he's going to read the paper, and you kind of just said, I had the Cardinals game on the radio, on the Philco radio or whatever, that kind of stuff. But hey, so I call, but I get there and hey, he's back. So I go, well, I gotta call him, right? And I call him, and he is beyond mad. And I go, what, Dad? He goes, I told those SOBs not to bring me back. And he goes, they brought me back. And, but it was kind of cool because I'm going, that's awesome, man. He has it. Hey, you know what? He's not changed. And you know what? I got one more time to tell him I loved him. And then I can't remember how long it was after that, but he passed either that rest somewhere along the line, not too long after that.
Again, and she had to go, Brett, your granddad.
Well, yeah, we had to go back and tell Brett, well, hey, this time we think it's for good. We think it's for good.
Oh, man.
Oh, it's crazy.
Oh, wow.
Last thing off the family thing, and I used to talk to James when he was still with us, and Janie and the sons. I've talked to Caitlin about this as a sister, and Jordan Street and Justin and Hanson. What's it like, from a sibling standpoint, what's it like when your kid's out on the mound? You're all this, you're that, you've evolved into this big coach and all that. And then when you see your kid competing at the highest level in the major leagues, you're still a dad. You're a dad. You go back into dad mode there.
No, it's tough, and I think it's even tougher as a coach's kid. I mean, because there's unwarranted expectations, I guess, for coaches' kids too, and stuff like that. And I've talked to you about this, David. Hey, I got lucky with Sandra, but I also, I wanted to marry an athlete. I don't know if that's selfish or what that says, but I thought I was going to coach. And I think if you coach, you either want your kid to be one of the best ones or one of the worst ones. That deal in the middle kind of puts you in a bad position if you coach your own kids. But
that's good mating, Frank. That's good mating.
I guess
natural selection right there.
But we won the national championship there in 2002, and that next spring, Brett started the first game his freshman year on the mound at Georgetown. Danny Wallace fires him out there, and first game, and Sandra and I are behind home plate in lawn chairs, and the first pitch hits the catcher's mitt right in the middle, and the umpire calls the ball, and Sandra goes, do not say a word. And so, we, from that day on, we always sat out by the foul poles. And people always thought, oh, they're unsociable, them, this and that. And I just didn't want to say something that I shouldn't say, for one, because I was more nervous for that deal than I was the national championship game. I mean, it's just that's your kid, man, and and you think they're going to be pretty good. But first, I remember it's Austin Anderson, and they were ranked pretty high that year, and they had a guy going to Rice that he was pitching against that was a senior. I mean, that was the Danks and that team that Round Rock had that year might have been one of the best high school teams I've ever seen. And
I can add two things off this. One was when Brett was in the 6th grade, you called me, which wasn't uncommon. We would talk a lot. We still do. He called and goes, "Hey, I think my kid's going to play in the big leagues." I said, "Well, we've known he's really good." What? He goes, "Man, I'm throwing with him in the backyard, and that arm just works." He goes, "He's the worst athlete I've ever seen in my life. He's got two like the mob put him in cement blocks for feet. He can't move out of sight in a day. He's trying to play football, but that's not going to happen." He goes, "But that arm works." He goes, I've seen enough of it." He goes, "I think he's going to pitch in the big leagues." That's one. And in that summer, after they won it, Brett's getting ready to be a freshman or whatever in high school. He called me. It kind of built up. Frank's going, "Hey, man, you think it's 6A or whatever it was, and I guess 5A then. Did they ever have freshmen on varsity?" He goes, "I think he's good enough to be on varsity. I think he's good enough to be on varsity." So then he starts calling as we get close to the season. He's seeing Round Rock. He's recruiting. He's going, "Well, I don't know, man. I don't know if they should start him out at varsity because Round Rock is loaded." They had Sawicki. They had all those dudes that year, didn't they? They had a ton of guys.
Oh, they had
He got a little bit worried. He got a little bit worried. Well, I don't know.
No.
Nah, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. So.
No, it was, Mike, you talk about, I took one of the reasons, like I said, financially, we had no college fund and all that kind of stuff. We were talking about this here a couple of years ago. We were watching a football game, and I think I've told David this, but and the guy punts the ball, and Brett said something about, "You remember when you made me, I was trying to figure out how I was going to afford, or how we were going to afford to get him to go to college somewhere." And I was trying to get I kept, every time we played somebody, I'd ask them if they had manager scholarships for their baseball team. That was one. And I was embarrassing, but I had to figure out something. And then my other backwards Nebraska redneck idea was, "Hey, I'm going to make him a deep snapper." And so, hey, for about a year, we would practice. I'd make him go out in the yard, and because he kind of could throw, and I go, "Hey, man, I researched deep snapping," and he goes, "Dad, that was the worst ever." He goes, "That sucked so bad," and I'm going, "Yeah, man, but." Hey, and then I show him what we had. I go, "Hey, you couldn't even have gone to a local junior college with what we had at that point set aside for you." So
he played for a lot of big league teams. He was in the big leagues for quite a while. Mm-hmm. You don't have to name names if you don't want to, but did he ever play for a manager or specifically a pitching coach? And you're like, "They're not good. They don't know how to handle my son."
Yeah, a little bit. It became apparent with some different organizations where, and it happens even more now, where the manager really is not making the decisions.
Yeah.
It's coming from somebody above. And I can remember we're in Boston. Caitlin and I are in Boston, and Brett's pitching against the Red Sox. And I'm fired up. I've never been to Fenway, and my kid's pitching there, and I'm scared to death. And you want good things to happen. Well, hey, and his stuff, and he was kind of starting to turn it around. It was his rookie year. I mean, he's 21 years old, right? And so Big Poppy, and I mean, this is the Red Sox, man. So he goes out there, and I mean, he's really good. And he goes 8 shutout. And we're in the second row. Caitlin and I are in the second row, right beside the dugout. In the first row in front of us, I don't know who they are, but I know there's somebody with Oakland, and they're high-level brass, right? It's not Billy Bean, because I know what Billy Bean looked like. And so the 8th inning gets over, and he's got a shutout, 2-hit shutout through 8. And I see the manager come out of the dugout and look at this guy and point like at the field. And this guy gets on the cell phone and talks to somebody and shakes his head, yeah, and points at the field. And after the game's over, Brett finishes the game, throws 2 hits shutout, and it was the first left-handed rookie for like 20 years to throw a shutout. And, because of the left field monster, nobody throws a complete game shutout left-handed here, very often. And so anyway, we're eating after the game or we're talking or whatever, and I go, hey, I think the manager asked the guy in front of me whether you could go back out for the ninth. And he goes, oh, absolutely he did. He goes, that was so-and-so. I can't remember who those guys are, but he goes, I'm sure he probably called Billy Bean in Oakland and said, asked if it was all right. And they sent me out there.
Wow.
And I thought, no kidding. And I'm going, wow, man, that's pretty crazy. But, not so much. I mean, it was, it was kind of hard for me to see. I saw him pitch in San Diego one night, and he walked the pitcher, and, obviously with analytics and Billy Bean, that's a huge no-no to walk the pitcher. And after the game, he beats San Diego. We're down below, and I just met Billy Bean the night before, and I'm talking to Brett, and he goes, can I have a moment with your kid or talk to your kid? And I go, yeah, whatever. You're paying the guy, you do whatever you want. And he starts ripping Brett's tail. I mean, about walking the pitcher and the numbers say this, now stupid was, and Steve, David played pro ball. I didn't play, but hey, I couldn't believe this with my kid because he's really quiet. He goes, listen, Billy, we can't blankety blank score. They had a stretch where they scored like 1 or 2 runs for like 10 straight starts for him. And that was when, they weren't that year, they weren't very good. And they had a bunch of rookies. Him and his best friend made the club. And he goes, Kurt Suzuki came out and I got him to 2 strikes as pitcher. And he goes, hey, dude, we can't let him sacrifice the guy to second because if somehow they single, we might not be able to score. So we need to strike this guy out right here. And he goes, hey, I throw him 4 sliders that everybody swings at, and the pitcher takes them, and then I choke it off and walk him. And Billy's ripping my tail, and he goes, well, all right, I guess you're right. And anyway, but so Billy Bean leaves, and I go, hey, I'm mad now. I go, well, first off, he called him Billy, and I thought that was very disrespectful, and this and that. Well, I didn't realize, David, age doesn't matter. It's all first name basis. Yes. It's not coach whatever. It's not this or that. I guess you can call him Skipper or Skip or whatever, but you don't call him, whatever, Mr. Leland or whatever. You call him whatever.
That's going to be the guy. The only guy that pays you. That's the guy that releases you too or trades you. So.
Well, yeah. So, but I'm sitting there going, hey, I'm just aghast that my 21-year-old kid called this guy Billy. Yeah. And stuff like that. And then also said, we can't blankety blank score. And I'm going, I don't know that I'd ever heard him cuss before that. But after he explained it, he goes, well, yeah, I guess you're right. And because I think the stretch had been like, I don't know how many games, but they scored like 1 or 2, per game. And so it's like, hey, we can't let them score if we have a chance. So
Did he ever get to a team you're like, oh, I don't know about this one?
It was kind of the Rockies. When he was with the Rockies, you always kind of wonder. You hear all the, the war stories and stuff like that about the ballpark and this and that. And you know what? He was pretty good there, and really enjoyed Denver. Those people, I think their team was just okay, but the people came out to the park. The park was awesome, and no, I wasn't sure about that. And then Oakland, I liked Oakland because, the media scrutiny wasn't near as bad as it was going to be for the Giants or the Dodgers or, stuff like that. And so I liked when he pitched at Milwaukee too, because, they love him. They love their team and this and that, but it's just different, different deal. Hey, some of the teammates he played with, it was interesting. Greinke, that guy's one of the craziest guys ever, and it's just I just like the fact he's kind of unfiltered, where he would just kind of say almost anything, and No, don't ask me about any of those stories, David, because I'm not going to tell any locker room stories from the big league.
Yeah. But for years, I've been Frank because he knows I'm a night owl. He knows I've always been single. So when he's driving at 2, 3 in the morning recruiting, he'll call me. Second thing he uses me for, if Brett had something as Brett advanced in his career, went out to LA to see the Olympic stuff or the Team USA stuff, he calls me and says, "Hey, let's go to. You want to go to Beijing?" And I'm thinking, Texas has a Beijing. Is there a kid there we need to look at? He goes, "No." I said, "Oh, Brett made the Olympic team," because it was kind of where when they went to the pro players, they don't let them have 2 weeks where they knew or whatever. So went to Beijing. That was some funny stories there. But we'd also, when he was the head guy at Oklahoma State, was in December, January, we'd go up. Brewer would have you out to Albuquerque.
Oh, yeah. It was usually about the first week of January.
Yeah.
We'd put on a clinic at the Albuquerque Baseball Academy.
And the trade-off was that Brewer, who one of his ex-players at Tech and guy I played some pro ball with, Brewer would send us up to the mountains, Angel Fire, or wherever those. What were those?
Taos.
Yeah, Taos to ski. Well, I had never skied, So we did this 4 or 5 years in a row, and I think the whole family. Brett went 1 year, and Brett couldn't.
No, he couldn't ski. I'm giving you the score right here. It's 43 all with 17 and a half left in the second.
Well, in this thing at perfect time right here. So Brett couldn't. Brett. I'm gonna end up telling this story. Brett couldn't ski. I had never skied because I'd been in pro ball, and I'm like, Duhon and them, Brent Duhon, those guys used to say, "Hey, come on, go up there, work the chicks and the deal and drink or whatever." And I never would go with them, but I went with Frank and them. So I said, "All right." Frank's riding my ass about going and trying to ski. He said, "Look, you're a pretty good athlete. You can do it." I don't know. Well, first of all, I don't even know if I got the right boots or not. My feet were killing me in those things. So Frank goes, "Hey, you need to go to the kiddie slope and take some, lessons." Yeah. And so I said, "Okay, that makes sense. I'm going to break a leg." I'd always heard these stories about like Sonny Bono, ran to a tree and killed himself or something. I don't want to get killed.
I didn't want that to happen to you.
I'll stand in there in 100-mile-an-hour fastball, but I don't know what I'm doing in snow. And so I go over there and I do the bunny thing, and I'm kind of, okay, this isn't that bad. This is, not, there were some real goober, non-athletic people, and they were falling all over. I mean, it was terrible. I'm going, okay, I've had enough of that. And that was NFL days when I used to maybe or maybe not have a wager or two on an NFL game. And so I was getting close to noon our time kickoff. And I said, I'm going back in the clubhouse and with Brett, because Brett was, in the big league. He was, I'm getting out of there. I'm going to go see, but I'm going to go take these damn boots off and watch some football. And as I'm going in, Frank skis down like Franz Klammer, shoots the dust stuff in my face and everything. He goes, "Hey, where are you going?" I said, "Dude, my feet are killing me. I'm going to watch football with Brett," or something like that. You and Emo, because Emo was there too. I said, "You guys knock yourself out. I'm getting it." He goes, No. You got to go ski this. What do you call that little hill? It was a little one.
It was like the bunny hill.
Yeah, it was a little bit higher. I said,
not much.
I go, "That one?" And he goes, "Yeah." I go, "I don't know. Well, how do I get up there?" He goes, "You got to get in the ski lift." I said, "What? A ski lift?" So I said, okay, this sounds simple enough. I probably won't break a leg or a neck or something, now I didn't see any trees up there. So I go, "Hey, how do I get on this?" And this was when they stopped the carousel the first time. So I put my feet, and Frank had bounced in the chair ahead of me, by the way. He's laughing at me and ripping me the whole time. It was brutal. And I put my feet on the concrete because they got concrete there. I don't know. And so all of a sudden that chair hits me and my feet stay stuck to the concrete and I'm getting bent in half like this and going, hey. So that's the first time they stopped the carousel. So they get me in it and I'm riding up the mountain literally like this because I don't, my feet out like this. And all of a sudden I get about halfway up the mountain. And so the guy that was giving the bunny lessons over here, and he's one of those guys that I think he smokes pot all year round and he gives biking, mountain climbing lessons in the summer, and snow lessons. Great dude. His name was Dave too, I think. He said, "David," halfway up, he goes, "Is that you up there?" And I'm kind of doing like this. He goes, I'm trying to hide, with my feet up like this because I don't want to get them stuck anywhere again. He goes, you're going to get yourself killed up there. And I go, oh shit. And the other thing, they didn't have a rail. I thought it was like a Ferris wheel where they had a deal for your waist. They didn't have any of that. So I'm leaning back in that baby because I'm scared of heights anyway. He goes, the first thing you need to do is get those poles that's going to jerk you out of there. And I'm like, oh my God. So now I've got my feet and my poles sticking straight up in the air. So anyway, it's getting pretty high up there, or it looked high to me. And I'm going, oh man, I'm leaning back and I'm all like this. Hey, we start getting closer. I go, oh, thank God the snow's getting closer. I said, hey, Frank, how do I get out of this thing? He goes, just put your feet down and ease right out and flow on in. I said, okay, so Frank does that. He's in the chair ahead of me. I've got a mom and her daughter behind me. So I go, here's the second time the carousel stopped. I put those skis down in the snow, and I get kadoon. I get hit with the thing in my calves, my back, and in the back of my head, and I'm fumbling over. And Frank is just laughing. And I wanted to hit him so bad by the time I mean, he is just ruthlessly just all over me the whole time. And I've got this woman and I hear the daughter go, oh my God, we're going to kill him. We're going to chop his head off. So we had fun.
He never did it again either.
No. Then I got down the mountain. I said, the hell with that. It's a lot safer, but anyway, any of the Olympic stories, Frank? You got to.
No, it just, you know what? Well, first off, Mike, you can imagine David was pretty wild, obviously, back then at that point. And we're going to Beijing, and I'm scared. Hey, we're going to a communist country, and please do not get me thrown in jail while we're in China. And I can remember having that. Hey, and I can't remember what had happened to you. But you got hurt where you sprained your ankle.
Running at the house 3 days before. I looked like Hillary Clinton when I could have had a blood clot.
And hey, I forgot, that flight was like 17 hours or something to get over there. And by the time we get there, his ankle is about this big. I forgot. I'm going, oh my Lord, he's going to die before we ever get land. But we get there, and David, it was an awesome experience. It was. Great. And but hey, some of the stuff. Hey, he loses his cell phone. There's 16 million people in Beijing in a cab, and somehow
81,000 cabs. 81,000.
And somehow the guy brings it back to him.
Oh my.
Yeah,
how did that work?
That's true.
Wow. I'm not sure how he got it back.
Well,
it's like winning the lottery.
Well, no. First of all, I get off with my Hillary Clinton ankle. I'm like, trying to get off the plane, and we get into a cab. It's like, I don't know what time it is because it's a 24-hour flight. The hours, but it's late. It's in the morning, and we get in a cab to go to the hotel, and the hotel's like 45 minutes away, and it was like, oh, shit! It's like I was on that ski thing again. That ski.
Oh, it's crazy.
When you get used to it after 2 or 3 days, you don't even get nervous anymore. Like they honk. That's the way they communicate. But the first 2 days, you're like, oh my God, this guy's going to kill us. But
Mike, so hey, I didn't know what we were going to do. Obviously, you can't communicate. But Brett, this is craziest deal. He gives a typing. I think both of us got a page, like a typing page, of paper, and at the top it said, "Please take me to," in Mandarin. But you could see the English above it. Please take me to, and then there was about 15 or 20 different things below that, like the baseball venue or the basketball venue. And so you get a cab and you point at "please take me to," and then you point down below the baseball, whatever they called the baseball thing. And hey, not once did we not get exactly where we're wanting to go, but I the whole time you're going, there's no way we're going to, get to the right place. But we got to see. I mean, the one thing that we messed up on, we didn't go. We could have saw Usain Bolt set the world record in 100 meters, but we went. You were there to see baseball, so we saw Strasburg get beat by the Cubans, which was that was pretty good too. But stuff like that you kind of go. Michael Phelps, we tried to get tickets to see. That was beyond. But everything else, we kind of went and saw a bunch of different things, and it was pretty cool.
Great memories.
And David, hey, I'm telling you, I was nervous the whole time he was going to do or say something to get us in trouble.
Oh, no.
It's like that in the United States too, though.
Well, that's true. That's what
now.
I mean.
It is now. Yeah. Oh God, no, that's true. But that's pretty funny.
Oh,
yeah, Frank, what you take away? We've had fun tonight. We've told a lot of stories. You know, you're talking about doing a book on all these stories. We talked about that the other day. But at the end of the day, in all the years, one, is it beyond your dreams that you've accomplished in raising to the level what you've done, the way you've been able to help put programs back together, make them top 5, go to Omaha, that kind of thing. And what's your takeaway? You know, what made Frank, you're not done yet. You got a couple more, bullets in the tank, but what's made Frank Anderson so good?
Well, first off, I don't know that I'm that good. And like I said, I had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder because I just didn't, David, I didn't play at the University of Texas like you. I mean, I give you a bad time, but obviously you're a really good player and a bunch of different things. And even, Greg Evans, our buddy, played at Ole Miss and I can remember hey, Mike, we're playing Oklahoma State. This is back when you played everybody. We're playing Oklahoma State in El Paso, and Gary Ward, the name of the school was Kearney State in Nebraska. And we were winning after 5 innings, and I can remember Gary Ward going, "You blankety blanks are getting beat by Carnival State." And then they came back and, ended up beating us. But, so I think, part of the motivation was that, maybe I wasn't sure I always belonged, in that deal. And I like I said, I firmly believe, I had the good Lord looking out for me. I mean, I made crazy transitions. I mean, and wasn't a pitching guy, and was fortunate that I got hired because the guy took a job with the Pro Rodeo Association as a trainer, and the guy hires me as a trainer. And I tell you what, I wish. All right, I shouldn't say I wish. My head coaching experience, we have some success at a pretty good level, but I think now I would be so much more equipped to handle the difference. It's tough to be a head coach because there's a little bit of facade between you and the players. And that's the one thing, after I left there, everybody goes, you're going to try to get this head job. Hey, no, man, I like the relationships I have with the guys. You asked me about Street, or just guys on those teams at Texas in general. One of the most fun times is after practice when hey, that was back before we had all these rules about 20 hours a week. I mean, we'd bring them back, right after the first year, and we were out there for 8 hours, 10 hours a day. Hey, we were dead tired, but sitting in the dugout after practice and just shooting a breeze. I mean, just telling lies, if you will. I mean, it was, it was, and so those, you got to develop those relationships where, I can remember, and I didn't talk about it now, hey, when you don't want to let them down and they don't want to let you down, in the games and stuff and just life in general. I mean, because it's funny. I tell our players most all these stories now, that we've talked about tonight, different things that happened with my family and my kids and all kinds of stuff. And so, I think, for me was as I got into it more and I wasn't worried about, this job or that. Once I finally, we could afford diapers and stuff like that. Hey, it became a deal where you didn't have to live paycheck to paycheck and you could probably enjoy it a little bit more. And like I said, I've been very fortunate. Bill Griffin, Hall of Fame guy, Larry Hayes, Hall of Fame guy, Augie Garrido, Hall of Fame guy. I've been very fortunate, when I was younger to be around just incredible people.
And Bingham.
Well, yeah, and first of all with Dave, exactly, and obviously, I think every one of those guys won over 1,000 games, and they did it in such different ways. Dave Bingham was one of the meanest, toughest people I've ever been around, and everybody saw some of the stuff that the choreographed stuff I say, on video and stuff. And they didn't see how he could talk to those guys. Hey, and even Tony here, Vitello goes, man, when I was at Missouri and I'd call an offensive timeout and he'd bring the guy over and we'd go, oh, good Lord, the guy's getting ready to double right here, because he could talk to him and tell him, hey, man, get that feeling, that you had when you're a senior in high school and you're tearing up and this and that. And the way he'd say, hey, I mean, he had such a presence in postseason. To me, that was a separator.
I thought his strength was postseason.
It was unbelievable, because, like I said, there at one point, I think he'd been 9 or 10 times and won 5. I mean, that was crazy. Yeah. And so, no, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I enjoy it. I enjoy talking to the guys that have played for me in the past. I love talking to Houston, this summer and some of the different guys. Hey, just think about how successful, out of the baseball realm, some of those guys have been too that we had there. I mean, they're really successful people, in their jobs now too. It's pretty crazy, pretty neat to see.
Yeah. Good family guys and all that.
Yeah.
And the last thing, we've talked analytics and a little bit touched on that, how it's changed, but still your best barometer, of how to know if a team's good. I get a call every year, Mike, about the middle of December. It's after the team Christmas party. And he goes, we're going to be really good.
The team Christmas
I don't know
party.
about this club. It's again, keeping it rated G. How can you go into kind of the
raunchier the Secret Santa presents are, the better team we usually have.
Oh, goodness.
Wow.
And, hey, a lot of them come from Spencer Gifts. Not that I'm doing an ad for Spencer Gifts, but, you can find everything in the world at Spencer Gifts.
And we're laughing about that, but you can tell the bond they're going to have by the interaction, if they can give and take, ribbon each other, and that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool to see.
No, I mean, it is, especially if hey, because like I said, it gets pretty personal, and if guys are close enough, you know how it is, David. I mean, I rag you, but you know how much I care about you, and I like to give you a bad time, but it's kind of, you go, hey, that's kind of our way of, me picking on you. That's the way we show our love for each other.
That's how you know someone likes you. If they're not jacking with you, they don't really want you around that much.
Sure. No, exactly. Anyway. And but I hope I haven't bored you guys to death. But
I think you set a record for the longest time to be in the box seats with
Frank.
Lowery.
Dude,
you could have
you know what?
Another 2
Like
hours.
I said, this will be however long we went. You'll never get that time back again in your lives. I apologize.
Oh, well, we hope your time ends this season in Omaha with a trip to the College World Series. It's been great having you on.
How good do you think you are this year? I know this answer, but it's standard. You think you're going to be good this year?
It's tough, David, because I don't know that I've ever been a part of a deal where you lost all 9 position players.
Wow.
And I was trying to think, you go. I think all but one of them signed a pro contract, and one of them was, the last few years because of COVID, we've been playing with 40-year-old guys out there, and that's been different too. But no, I don't think I've ever been a part of something like that. And we have a lot of returning pitching and stuff like that. But I think we have some pieces. But like you said, I mean, the culture or chemistry or how people adjust and we didn't even get into it, and I don't want to, but the NIL and the portal and all that stuff, good Lord, I want to do this for a while longer, but I'm not sure that might be the thing that puts me over the top right there. I mean,
that's tough.
I don't think anybody envisioned what was going to happen with this.
Might not end well unless they get some breaks on it. It might not end well.
No, it probably won't.
Mm-hmm.
But this is ending great. Frank Anderson, thanks so
it.
Much. Great having you in the box seats. Good luck this year.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.